Good morning again, and welcome to the fifth now of these short Bible studies, which you can look at every day. We're going to try and get through the whole Bible in 365 days, and we're going to look at the different kinds of literature that are in it, and the lessons that we might learn from it. Today, day 5. We have another idea about the origin of humans, and we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 2, verses 7 to the first half of verse 9, and then verse 15. And there it is on screen now. Then Yahweh took some dust from the ground and shaped a man out of it. He breathed life-giving breath into his nostrils, and the man became a living soul. Next, Yahweh God planted a garden in Eden to the east, and there he put the man he had formed. From the ground Yahweh God made all kinds of lovely trees to grow there and to produce good fruit. Yahweh took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to prune it and to look after it. You might have heard that there are two accounts of creation in the book of Genesis. On day 3, we visited a third creation story that was told before the 7-day story in the first chapter of Genesis was written. Most people don't know about that one, the one about Leviathan. Now, here today is a snippet from what people generally talk about as the second story of creation. This is also an older story, perhaps as old as the story of the marauding Leviathan. It is the story of Adam and Eve, and particularly today about why humans have to work for their living. In the first chapter of Genesis, there was a sophisticated understanding that all humans were chips off the old block. We were made in God's image, both male and female. Now, this second story in Genesis begins by trying to understand why God needed humans at all. Here, in this more primitive understanding, we have God, who is known to Moses and to most of the Old Testament as Yahweh, the one who exists. God, Yahweh, is in need of a worker, a male, Adam, a gardener to look after what appears to be an orchard of fruit-bearing trees. The word Yahweh is often replaced in reading aloud with the words the Lord. Written for a culture that mostly expected its women to be responsible for the home and childbearing, the male role was to face out from the household, fulfilling the family's needs from what he could hunt or farm, or from whatever skills he had. God wanted a worker. In this scenario, God does not tell the man, fill the earth and subdue it. That idea came from a different time, when empires were building and conquest was in people's minds. Instead, from this earlier time, when nomads were gradually becoming settled farmers and traders, in this story, God employs the man to prune the orchard and to look after it. This man's job is to cultivate and to guard this part of the world that God has tamed. The man's payment is that he can live there and feed from the fruit it produces. So, from the dawn of history, as the nomads began to settle the land and to live in communities, we have this story that speaks volumes about their attitude to the world. Once we had been gardeners in God's orchard, We had been at peace with God and with the orderly world he had made. But sadly, it didn't stay that way for very long. And so, they believed, we felt the lack and aspired to be at peace with him and creation once again. What had gone wrong, and why we were now obliged to put some effort in to restore ourselves to that blessed state? What had gone wrong? Long ago, they sought an explanation or two. And tomorrow, we will read on.